In this lesson, you will learn about dividing rational numbers. Okay, so the rules for dividing rational numbers are the same for multiplying. So multiplying and dividing have the same rule. If the numbers have the same sign, so a negative divided by a negative, you get a positive, okay? This is also true that if you have an even number of negatives, okay, that's also going to equal a positive, okay? If the numbers have different signs, a positive and a negative, your answer is going to be negative, okay, because they are an odd number. Here there are only one negative number. Okay, so yours looks a little bit different on here, okay? So this is the reciprocal of A over B is B over A. Okay, so reciprocal we're just flipping, where A and B cannot be equal to 0. So what I mean by that is B here on the bottom cannot be equal to 0. The denominator can never be 0. And in B over A here, A cannot be equal to 0. A number multiplied by its reciprocal is called the multiplicative inverse, okay? And this is always equal to 1. So we use the reciprocal to cancel. Let's try a couple. The reciprocal of 2 over 7 is 7 over 2. Okay, so we're just flipping it. The reciprocal of negative 3. So we want to think of negative 3 as negative 3 over 1. It's the same value. So the reciprocal here would be 1 over negative 3. Okay, so here when we're dividing fractions, we want to multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, so instead of dividing by 8, the reciprocal of 8 is 1/8. So I'm going to multiply 8r plus 24, and I'm going to times all of this by 1/8. Okay, so for example, that means I have 8r times 1/8 plus 24 times 1/8. Okay, here again, if I'm doing 8 times 1/8, it's 8 over 1. Okay, so notice here that the reciprocals are going to cancel out, and I'm just left with r. Here I have plus. 24 is the same as 24 over 1. 24 times 1 is 24, and 1 times 8 is 8. Okay, so now I can simplify even more. R stays the same, and 24 divided by 8 is going to give me 3. So your answer is r plus 3. Okay, let's try the next one. For the first one, we have 24 minus 6a over 3. Okay, so instead of dividing by 3, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 3 is 1/3. So I have 24 minus 6a times 1/3. So the 1/3 needs to be distributed here and here. So 24 times 1/3 minus 6a times 1/3. Okay, 24 is 24 over 1. So I multiply across 24 over 3 minus multiplying across 6a, which is 6a over 1 over 3. Okay, now I can simplify. 24 over 3 is 8. And I can do 6 divided by 3, and I'll get 2a. So the second one looks a little different. You might see one like this, okay? So here I want my first term to stay the same when I'm dividing fractions. So my first term stays the same. And then here I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. So here I'm going to multiply. The reciprocal would be 3 over negative 10. Now I can multiply across. 1 times 3 is 3. And 5 times negative 10 is negative 50. Okay, please try both of these, so pause the video for a moment and check your work. Alright, so for the first one, instead of dividing by negative 2, I'm going to go ahead and multiply by negative 1/2, which is the reciprocal. So I have 6b plus 18. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, so negative 1/2. I need to distribute my negative 1/2 to both terms. 6b times negative 1/2 plus 18 times negative 1/2. So I'm going to put this over 1. 6b times negative 1 is negative 6, and 1 times 2, sorry, 6b, 1 times 2 is 2. Then I'm going to add 18 times negative 1, negative 18, and 1 times 2 is 2. Now I can simplify here, and I get negative 3b plus negative 9, okay? Another way that you can write it is negative 3b minus 9, okay? If you wrote it like the term above, you want to put it in parentheses because you don't want to have a positive and a negative right next to each other. Okay, let's try the last one. Okay, so because I have two fractions here, I have my first term, which is 1/5. And then here, instead of divide, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, this is actually the same problem, so hopefully you got this one. We get 3 over negative 50.